Hello everyone and welcome to another Directions Mag Geospatial webinar. Today sponsored by Esri. I am Barbary Duke, Managing Editor here at Directions Magazine, joined by our assistant webinar producer, Lynette Qualia. If you have any questions about your connection, just drop us a note in the chat and we'll do our best to help you. We encourage you to stop by directionsmag.com to read feature articles, daily news, and of course, view more webinars. We're standing by to take your questions. We'll type those into the question box at any time during the webinar. We'll answer as many questions as possible during our Q&A time after our presentations. But anything that we can't get to, expect the good folks over at Esri to follow up with you personally. Also, if you see something that you like on the screen, just click that little camera button and it'll save a picture for you. We are recording today's webinar, so keep an eye on your inbox in the coming days for that link. We appreciate your opinions on the polls and surveys. And also, if you need a certificate of attendance for today, we have those available for you in the follow-up email. So we are honored to have Vineet Sharma and Robert Jensen with us today. And they are going to help us explore geocoding and how we might improve those efforts in our workflows. Vineet, Rob, welcome. We are glad to have you with us today and excited to learn more.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Vineet Sharma. I am a product marketing manager at Esri, and today I'm joined with Robert Jensen, a product manager at Esri. Just to let you know that we will have our email IDs up at the very end of the webinar. So if you have any questions later, or if you think of something later that we didn't cover today in our webinar, please feel free to reach out to us. We both will try to respond fairly quickly. But having said that, let's dive into our today's webinar. Today, we will discuss quickly what is geocoding, look at some of the popular use cases, take a look at Esri's geocoding products, talk about many ways that a geocoding capability can be added to your workspace, and finish off with a short summary and some resources that you can utilize later. Geocoding is a process that converts your location data, such as postal addresses and place names, into latitude and longitude coordinates that can be plotted on a map. In today's business, the organizations are collecting massive amounts of data, and most of this data has location information associated to it. Putting this data on the map literally helps you find patterns and make key business decisions. Esri's geocoding capability comes in many forms, as you will see on the screen. Let me take you quickly through them. Some users will be interested in finding a single location on a map and orienting the map around this location. There are many names used in the market to describe this feature, such as interactive geocoding, forward geocoding, as well as geosearch. This feature is further enhanced with the suggestions capability that suggests multiple candidates as you are typing the address to get to the right location quickly. Batch geocoding. Many enterprise organizations have massive amounts of data that has location information such as postal addresses. With batch geocoding, these organizations can quickly assign coordinates to each of these records in a fast single process to display this data on the map. Reverse geocoding. It helps users in the field help associate their location back to a textual description. For example, clicking on an unfamiliar area to get the textual description of that location, be it address, an intersection, or even a place name. Places search. This helps locate millions of businesses, landmarks, and other points of interest using English or your local language. For example, if you're looking for a particular bank or even a particular Starbucks in the area. So why does geocoding matter to us? Geocoding is the foundational step to understanding your data. Geocoding by itself is valuable as we demonstrated in the previous slides, but we can further increase this value. Once you have coordinates assigned to the data in your database, you can put them on top of a detailed base map or imagery to get visual context of where your customers are. You can go one step further and enrich this data with some demographic variables such as household incomes, median age, or purchasing power of the area where your customers reside. You can do spatial analysis on this data, like how far each customer can drive within 5 or 10 or maybe even 15 minutes time window to understand if they can reach your retail location in minimal time. And ultimately, you want to reach some level of understanding of your data so that you can make some key business decisions. Let's take a look at some popular use cases that give you some context as to how some major businesses are using geocoding to make some important business decisions. This slide talks about some use cases, but there are many, many more. For example, insurance. They put policyholder locations on a map and then intersect them with polygon boundaries for concerns like flood or fire zones. Retail businesses can combine customer addresses with demographic attributes to learn more about their background and surroundings. Financial institutions determine how close a user is to the nearest branch or ATM based on their current location. Logistics industry can empower delivery schedules with coordinates that put individual orders in the most efficient order. The next slides will talk about how Esri approaches its geocoding and what makes it a leading experience for our users across the globe. Our ArcGIS World Geocoding is a global geocoding capability with street-level coverage for 149 countries, which covers over 90% of the worldwide population. These countries are shown in the darker shades of brown on this map and represents countries where our geocoding is very accurate and very mature. Beyond even these countries, we support places and interest levels for the rest of the planet, and we deliver global coverage with a single RESTful endpoint. Let's see how do we deliver a high quality of geocoding. The geocoding experience depends on the quality of the underlying street reference dataset. Esri makes use of the best available reference data, both globally and locally. Esri relies over its vast network of over 40 distributors, 80 distributors, covering each of the key countries around the world to make geocoding the best there can be for each of these countries. Esri sources data directly from some of these distributors who are experts in their local markets and collecting local street data for many years. We also supplement this data from our user communities. These are national mapping agencies, government agencies that not only use ArcGIS technology to collect and maintain this data, but also provide it back to Esri to incorporate it into the global geocoding service and many of its content products. Finally, we license global commercial street reference data from multiple companies to deliver a global geocoding experience for the rest of the world. Using this approach, we are building and delivering a world-class geocoding capability that covers the entire planet. As you saw on the previous slide, we utilize some of the best reference data available to power our geocoding capability, and that really helps us provide very accurate search results. Even more, the ArcGIS World Geocoding can provide multiple locations for an address. You can get search results for location along the side of the street, which might be a good option for guiding a vehicle to its destination, as well as search results for rooftop or the parcel centroid, which can be more relevant for your organization's operations. Because of our global presence, we are able to collaborate with our partners around the world to understand how addressing works from country to country. For example, Danica showed here in the slide is accustomed to addressing in the US. However, Nico in Germany writes his address in a very different format. ArcGIS World Geocoding capability handles addresses in local alphabets and languages, Latin and non-Latin characters, as well as local address formats. Uh, you can quickly appreciate the addressing complexities of the addressing systems around the world, and Esri has taken its time to understand how these systems are incorporated into the matching logic of World Geocoding service. Now let's look at some of the geocoding products and how we deliver the geocoding capability throughout our portfolio. For organizations that require global coverage with a ready-to-use cloud-based service, we offer the ArcGIS Online World Geocoding service. For organizations that still need global coverage but cannot deploy in the cloud for privacy and security reasons, we have the World Geocoder for ArcGIS. For organizations that need local, country level or state level geocoding, but have to conform to strict privacy requirements such as HIPAA, we deliver StreetMap Premium product to meet these needs. For organizations that collect and manage their own asset and addressing data that they need to search against, we offer the capability for them to build their own geocoding to support searching against their own data. And additionally, users have the flexibility to set up the geocoding in a way that they can search against their data and fall back to any of the 3 geocoding options mentioned earlier. The following slides will talk about various deployment patterns as to how you can incorporate geocoding capability within your workspace. And for that, let me hand it over to Robert Jensen.
So first, we're going to talk about deployment patterns for the World Geocoding capability at Esri. So to start, geocoding is an essential capability of the ArcGIS platform. And as such, ArcGIS is a complete system for geocoding. Esri has integrated the geocoding capability into all of our applications, whether that's Enterprise, Server, ArcMap, ArcGIS Pro, all of our field applications like Navigator and Collector. It's also available to developers through our APIs and our SDKs. Geocoding is a key capability at Esri. So we have placed that capability everywhere in our software stack. So you can use the World Geocoding service in ArcGIS Online. You can use it in some on-premises products, like Vineet said, StreetMap Premium and the World Geocoder. And you can mix and match things. So if you want to go offline and still do some geocoding, you can take the data, put it onto your device, and continue on. Let's advance to the next slide. So connectivity. This is something we're all becoming quite familiar with these days with our working away from the office. So there are 3 different types of connectivity that you can think of when doing geocoding. You're always connected to the internet, in which case you can use the ArcGIS World Geocoding service. This is where Esri sees most of our users doing their work because the internet is not a scary place. People like using software as a service, and Esri has a robust hosted service for you. At the same time, there are plenty of users who work in a disconnected environment or an office where the internet connection is not available for various security reasons or privacy reasons. And in this case, we have several products. We have the World Geocoder for ArcGIS, which is global, or you can use ArcGIS StreetMap Premium, which is a regional or local data set. Or you can build your own locators and thus your own services using your own data. And those would be a service that you host in your own environment, either on your own private cloud or your own server rack. And finally, there is the hybrid model, sort of a best of all worlds where data sets and services that you maintain and build that you like to host yourself, you have your connection to those services, and you can combine that to also make requests to the ArcGIS Online World Geocoding service. So you can think of this as a city or a county might maintain an internal service with data sets that they own. And for addresses that fall beyond the city limits or county boundaries, they will make use of Esri's online service to find matches for those addresses. Thank you everyone for sharing. All right, so first we'll do a few minutes on geocoding at your desktop. And as I said earlier, that's either with ArcGIS Pro or some other applications that your business has built. And essentially, you use ArcGIS Pro to do geocoding or to build your own data sets and geocode against your own local service. You can publish those services to your own hosted environment, either portal for ArcGIS or ArcGIS server. And so the benefit of this, as we said earlier, was you can use your own data to supplement what Esri provides. And in all cases, you can do forward geocoding or geosearch, as Esri refers to it. You can do reverse geocoding, and you can do batch geocoding. So if you have thousands or millions of addresses, you can do that just as easily as typing in one address. As we talked about earlier, you can package up your address data into a locator that you can take offline. And those locators can be used in your devices, in applications like Navigator and Collector. They can also be consumed by ArcGIS Pro as well. So if someone shares the locator with you, you don't have to worry. You can still make use of that in your own environment. Okay, so let's say you have put your locator data onto a device. If the device has internet connectivity, you can connect to Esri's World Geocoding service. It can connect to a locator service that you've published on your own environment. It also works with the locators that you have put into packages that you built by yourself. And once you're on your device, you can do forward geocoding, reverse geocoding, and you can customize your own apps with our mobile SDK to perform additional search capabilities, things that are tailored to your particular business operation and/or needs. Also, of course, you can geocode through a web browser. And we'll show a demo of this a little later, where we use ArcGIS Online's map viewer. You can also use a lot of web templates that Esri provides to build your own experience, your own browser-based geocoding application. Or you can add a geocoding capability to your apps. I think we're all familiar with what a search box looks like and what one does when there is a search box. That's a prompt to your users to type in an address and get a response. So the last couple of slides have talked about, have mentioned that we have APIs that perform geocoding. Broadly speaking, there are three capabilities. I want to convert my address into an XY coordinate, or I want to convert my XY coordinate into an address. And thirdly, I would like to get some prompts or have an autocomplete experience. When we want to go from an address to a location on the face of the earth, we use find address candidates. That's a one at a time or a one-off experience. We then have geocode addresses, which is doing batch geocoding or sending in multiple addresses at the same time. When we want to convert from a location on the face of the earth into a known address, we use the reverse geocode method, and that can be done one at a time or in batch. And lastly, we have the suggest method. As it clearly says, I want to type in one or two characters and have a list start to populate in front of me. So I have that real-time experience. Finally, just a couple of things that Esri feels sort of helps us distinguish our geocoding services from other services is our ability to generate a few more matches, those last hard to reach things, such as, what are the nearby intersections to the address that I typed in? What's the nearest postal code or the nearest town name? Things beyond just instead of finding just an exact one-to-one match or is this address valid, it's that next question that I ask about well, I know where I am, but what else is around this? How can I search for some other identifiable information? The other thing that we find that we believe sets us apart is that our Esri's World Geocoding service has the ability to search through the noise to find things that are not really relevant to an address, like RE colon or brackets NA. These are things that, maybe were typed in by accident, or one of your users copy and pasted a doctor's address into the search box. This is where Esri's service has the intelligence to recognize, hey, that's the name of a person as opposed to the name of a business. So we can get rid of and ignore some of that extra content and focus on the really important address components. Finally, as Vinny touched on earlier, you can search for categories of businesses or search within a specific geographic area, things that help you to focus down your requirements to the most relevant areas. And as Vinny mentioned also, we make reference to authoritative data provided by national mapping agencies, national postal agencies, and city and county governments that maintain and issue addresses. Now, you'll see the word summary here. What I'm going to do is just do a quick little demonstration of the World Geocoding service in ArcGIS Online. Ta-da! So, here we look at North America. We're mostly familiar with that. I'm going to start typing in the search box, and you'll see that we start to get a bunch of suggestions. We've probably all heard of the 123 Main Street example. So there are several different towns throughout the US that have a main street and have a number 123 on that street. Let's click on the first example and we'll zoom in really close to that area. Now, if I type in 125 Main Street, my suggestions are now all within this one town. So it helps to give you that geographic context of what can I see when I first start to type. The more localized I get, the better my suggestions become. All right, so that sounds pretty nice. Let's try some international addresses, shall we? And I'll bring the web browser back up. Okay, so let's look for something in Brazil. Copy and paste that in. I have an answer. Off I go. That sounds great. But Rob, you ask, what about something in a non-English language? How does that work? That's a wonderful question. Let's type this in. And off we go. Welcome to China. So we could go, if you want to type in some suggested addresses in the chat box, please do. And now we will return to the slide deck. All right. So as we've talked about, Esri has global coverage. We believe our data is super accurate. We refer to it as sort of the best available reference data. We support local languages, local address formats. You can search for anything you can think of. And then one thing that sort of distinguishes Esri from other groups is that if you have paid for the geocode, then you get to keep that result forever and ever. And you can use that in your own internal business needs for as long as you have access to that address. And finally, Esri's geocoding capability, it's online, it's offline, it's on premises, it's in the field, it's frankly everywhere you need it to be. All right, now we're gonna open up to some questions that we saw in the chat window.
Yeah, so someone noticed that you mentioned a World Geocoder for ArcGIS and the Street Map Premium. Are they different locators or simply different services?
That is a great question. They are different locators. It is the identical service. It has the same capabilities. It uses the same API. The World Geocoder, as the name implies, is global data. StreetMap Premium is regional data, so just North America or just Switzerland.
Excellent.
The goal is that it is sized up to meet your particular geocoding needs. So just the data that you need.
Right. Pre-zoomed
and then,
in.
Yes. Yeah.
So I see you've got some great links there too.
Yes, you beat me to it. So we will leave this up, I think, for the remainder of the presentation while we handle your questions.
Great. And just to remind folks, we'll share those with you later on too. So question here, a little bit of a 2-3-parter. Does the geocoding return state, county, MSA codes in addition to lat long? The next part is that Rooftop Precision.
Did you cut out?
No, the second part is it Rooftop Precision?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So when you submit your request to the World Geocoding Service or to a service you have hosted yourself, yes, the primary result will be the rooftop location. There are certainly there are going to be there will be places where the best available match is the parcel centroid. That could be because there are no buildings on that particular parcel, or our data providers have only provided us with a parcel centroid location. And then that also varies on a country by country basis.
Mm-hmm.
So you might expect that in some countries, the capital city will have excellent rooftop coverage, and smaller villages and unincorporated areas might not have a rich set of buildings from which to build rooftop locations.
Great. So to follow up on that, what is the source? They mentioned Tiger, TeleAtlas, and what about the address standardization as well?
Okay. So Esri makes use of data from here, or formerly known as Navtech. Mm-hmm. For those of you who have been in the geocoding game for many years. We also use companies in the US such as SafeGraph, Building Footprint USA, plenty of state and county and city governments. So you might think of in the USA, it's sort of primarily from commercial and community sources. And then around the world, it's primarily from national postal agencies, the sort of authoritative provider or issuer of address information in those respective countries. And then we use here as our global source for commercial data. And I think there was there's a final question in there that I might have forgotten. Could you repeat that for me, please?
Yeah, no, I think you got it. The question was about standardization.
Yes, right. So as part of Esri, as part of the geocoding response, we return the address to you in a standardized format. So number, street name, city name, state name. You can customize the response to say, I want that response in one field or in individual fields.
All right, very good. Someone would like to know how a jurisdiction can submit authoritative address data for inclusion in the World Geocoder.
Thank you for asking that question. Esri has a community address program where you can submit your addresses and they will be reviewed by Esri. Someone from Esri will be in contact with you to talk through some of the follow-up details. And then within a short period of time, yes, your addresses will be included in the World Geocoding service.
That's amazing.
And we can provide a link to that as well.
Oh, that's great. Folks would like to know how they can utilize the geocoding suggestions in offline mode.
So to use suggestions in an offline mode, let's see, it's as simple as if the app you have built has the search box included, then the suggestions works against the local data set on that device or on your computer or on your server. The suggestions capability is universal.
Okay.
So when, for example, if you take your own data and build a locator from that, the process of building the locator will index the data so that it can be accessed via the suggestion method.
Perfect. So folks would also like to know how they can get census track and block information. Or is that part of kind of this geocoding experience?
So today, Esri's geocoding service does not append census block and census track information.
Okay.
We have a separate service at Esri called Geo Enrichment, and that's where you append demographic information such as census block, track, and other attributes to your already geocoded addresses.
Excellent. Always a popular question next when we're talking about data is, when is the reference data updated? At what frequency?
Yes, it is a very popular question. The online World Geocoding service is updated 4 times per year. Those updates occur when ArcGIS Online makes its updates. So think of it as late March, late June, late September, and early December.
Excellent. And then maybe one more question here. How do you automate geocoding activities?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. So Esri has several examples of Python scripts that you can install on your desktop or in your enterprise, where it will read your new data every hour, every day, whatever time period you like, and it will rebuild the locator. It'll upload the new locator to replace the existing service, and I will provide a link to that as well.
Okay, great.
Yes, it's Esri has a code sharing website where you can find examples like this.
Excellent. So pay attention to the screen there, folks. Go.esri.com/Esri Geocoding, Developer Geocoding, Street Map Premium, and World Geocoder. Those should be easy for you to remember, but we will be in touch via email. So keep an eye on that inbox. And Rob, are these the best places to go for if they want to get training or those kinds of things, some practice activities to get their feet wet?
Yep, these are excellent places to get your journey started.
Wonderful. Well, folks, we are at the end of our time today, and just want to remind you to keep an eye on your inbox. We'll be in touch with the link to the recording, as well as all these good links for you to continue your geocoding journey. Also have attendance certificates for you. So do stop by often and check up on more webinars. We also, Rob, I think you wanted to share your contact information if folks wanted to reach out to you guys directly. You guys are generously sharing those personal email addresses. So to reach out to Robert and Vineet, very simple there. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us here at Directions. So folks, we appreciate you being with us today. Hope that you will make it a great day. Tell a friend about Esri and Directions Magazine. Thanks, everybody.